if you know you have an insecure attachment style and you don't know what to do about that? Today, I will share tips that has helped me heal my attachment issues and what I've learned, and I hope it will help you too. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Diana and I am here to assist you on your journey of spiritual growth and personal development. I start this video by assuming that you already know your attachment style and that you have an insecure one. If this is not the case, I encourage you to watch my video Love versus Attachment, which I will link down in the description box. Also, if you would like, just feel free to jump right to the tips part somewhere at the minute on the screen. Otherwise, just to briefly recap. So there are 4 main attachment styles that are formed by our early relationships with our caregivers. We have the secure attachment style, which is characterized primarily by healthy self-confidence and loyal partnerships. And we have the 3 insecure types. Avoidant attachment style, where a person tends to avoid close relationships. The anxious attachment style, where a person tends to be needy and overly occupied with their partner. And we have the disorganized attachment style, where there is a deep fear of intimacy and inability to open up to potential partners. But first of all, can you change an unhealthy attachment style? Well, it is and continues to be a very deep and basic part of your personality. The development and maturation of your nervous system was deeply impacted by your early conditions and will most likely be your default mechanism to fall back to, especially under stressful situations. That being said, you can really work around that. The plasticity of our brain or our ability to form new neural pathways is fantastic. So you can learn to recognize your patterns, work with your emotions, and establish new ways of behaving that will greatly serve you and help to increase your happiness levels. But now let's move to the tips. So my tip number 1 is learn to recognize your attachment patterns. How does it show up for you? What situations trigger you? How specifically do you feel when your attachment style is triggered? What happens? How do you behave? What are the consequences of your behavior? For example, you could notice that you start to get really anxious when your partner is out meeting their friends, or after having the first date, you never call the person back even though you kind of like them. Or maybe you keep finding partners who turn out to be abusive towards you, and that makes you feel hopeless. Or you could feel very lonely and even miserable when everybody else around you seem to be in happy and committed relationships. If possible, keep a journal and document your trigger situations. If you understand how your patterns work specifically, you can start to predict when they become activated. But that knowledge gives you a chance to start avoiding your usual pattern and experiment with new ones. My tip number 2 is give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Once you have started to develop a practice of recognizing how your attachment style is expressed, you can start to question yourself. You have to understand that what you're reacting to is not necessarily your objective present-day reality. It could be actually your childhood trauma, which is being reactivated by your present-day reality, because something in your reality reminded you of those early days. But it doesn't necessarily say a lot about what's really going on right here and now. So if we take the previous example with you feeling anxious about your partner being out with their friends, then your anxiety may not necessarily tell much about what's going on with your partner while they're out meeting their friends, but it actually could be a reference to those early days when something is coming up because this is a situation that has triggered that memory. So Don't jump to conclusions right away. Create that mental space little by little, which allows you to recognize that maybe currently you are not good at telling what's really going on. And it's okay. It's a process. And the more you stretch that inner space, the better you will become at telling what's really going on. That there is actually an overlay of your past onto your present. And you need some time and practice to separate one from the other. Give yourself that time and space. My tip number 3 is recognize your needs. This is very important because the majority of your unhealthy patterns are based on the needs that were not met properly when you were a little child. In order to ever meet those unmet needs, you have to be super clear about what those needs are. It doesn't matter that you don't have the resources just yet to meet those needs. What does matter is that you know what they are and you can identify situations when they become activated so that you can start to plan your next steps. Basically, become super clear of what it is that you need in any given situation. The key here is to be able to identify the core need versus what you feel at the surface level. For example, if you ask yourself, what do I need the most right now? And your answer is, I need him to call me, then obviously you cannot do much about that. In that case, keep asking yourself, what does it tell me about what I actually need? And your answer may be, I need him to call me because I need to feel appreciated and that I matter. So here you have your core need. At first, it could be difficult to get straight to the core needs, but the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. I promise. My tip number 4 is meet your needs. Make a commitment to yourself that you will do whatever is in your power at the moment to make yourself better and meet your needs. Brainstorm the ways and make a list of specific things you can actually do to have those needs met. For example, if you need safety, how can you make yourself feel safe? What can you do specifically? For example, taking a warm bath, watching your favorite movie, having your cat purr on your lap while you pet her, and so on and so forth. Or the previously mentioned example with the need to feel appreciated. Just ask yourself, what can I do right now for myself to feel appreciated? So whenever you feel upset, ask yourself, what do I need right now to feel better? Then go and take a look at your list and pick something. And again, make sure that you address the core need. My tip number 5 is have your needs met by other people. I purposefully made this a separate point because the distinction here is very important when it comes to healing your attachment issues. Meeting your own needs teaches you to rely on yourself and be self-sufficient. This is especially important for anxious attachment individuals, as this is one of the main things they need to learn. But also for other types who may be already pretty self-sufficient. It will help them become more aware of their needs and mindful of the ways they go about meeting them. Now it's different when others get involved, and that could be especially challenging for avoidant and disorganized types, but also beneficial for anxious types because they will learn to meet their needs through others in healthier ways. Okay, let's make another list. I really love lists, by the way, because they provide you with a clear action plan when you need it the most. This time, what you put on the list is every person you know you can rely on and the type of help that they can give you. And it can also be not only individual people, but also groups of people, online communities, support groups, etc. For example, your list could say, Jane, a friend of mine, She helps me feel heard because she's such a good listener. Or my therapist, she keeps me accountable and helps me put things in perspective. Or maybe discussion forum X. I always get very good advice there, and I can read other people's stories, so it helps me feel less lonely. This list will most likely include building secure relationships with other people, because no matter how self-sufficient you are, it's unlikely that you will be able to fully fix yourself by yourself, since you need mirroring and healing provided by a safe presence of another human being, which will allow you to rewrite your history and learn about healthy affection and love. Number 6 is develop your inner speech. And by that I mean, try to recognize the voice of the child whose needs haven't been met, and the voice of your adult self who has the resources necessary to take care of that child. Try to develop a clear distinction in your head. This is the voice of my adult self, and this is the voice of my wounded inner child. At first, of course, it may seem a bit weird to try to identify those different voices in your inner space, but this is how you become conscious of them, and how you can actually start bridging the gap between the present moment, where you are now, right here, right now, and the past your wounded inner child is stuck in developmentally. And this also brings me back to recognizing and meeting your needs. The ability to recognize those different voices in your inner space will actually greatly aid you at being able to see how the needs of your adult self are different from those of your child self. Number 7 is don't resist your negative feelings and be prepared to feel them a lot. This can be very challenging, especially if you are one of those who want to avoid negative feelings at any cost. However, being present with everything you feel, no matter how positive or negative it may be, is the shortcut to finding out your inner truth and also to healing and integration. Your negative emotions were not properly taken care of when you were a little baby, incapable of helping yourself. Now, this is your opportunity to redo that by being unconditionally present with your feelings, to help yourself solve the patterns from your past. Number 8 is seek professional help. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Well, the problem with healing attachment issues is that those issues began within a relationship, and they can be properly healed also within a relationship. A good therapeutic relationship can provide you with that safe base you need to start changing your patterns and regain trust in the good things in life. Number 9, heal your traumas. It is likely that depending on the severity of your attachment-related issues, you could be dealing with a childhood trauma of some sort. Maybe some of you will never go there, but for others of you, this could be the only option to really be able to achieve happiness, especially if you tend to be severely triggered and suffer from such conditions as anxiety, depression, or others, and are lonely or deeply unhappy or even abused in your relationships. Basically, the more severe your symptoms are, the more likely it becomes that we are dealing with something deep and traumatic here that won't just go away itself. I may be making more videos in the future to address trauma healing in more detail, but for the sake of this video, I just want to point out that this could be something that you could be dealing with, most likely with the help of your therapist. Number 10, practice self-love and build a healthy relationship with yourself. Actually, this tip involves everything that I have already said so far, but I think it is very important to stress that In order to have a happy and secure relationship, you need to work long term to build up your confidence, to learn to understand yourself and your specific needs. Basically, to build your whole lifestyle around who you know you are and want to be, which involves identifying and replacing your negative beliefs, getting to know yourself, and finding out how to best accommodate and support the unique individual that you are. It's a lifelong process, one that will always contain learning and growing. My tip number 11 is counterbalance your attachment style to create a healthy lifestyle. What I mean by that is that, for example, if you have an anxious attachment style, then it is especially important that you develop your passion and other areas of your life that are not as dependent on other people as relationships are. It is very important that you can show yourself, yes, I can do that. I have what it takes to achieve that. Well, the satisfaction and success that comes out of that will greatly boost your self-esteem and will in turn help you in picking partners that really respect you and want to commit. On the other hand, for avoidant attachment style, you guys will attain greater balance in life if you learn to involve other people in your life more. Learn to rely on others. Learn about teamwork and what other people need. Learn about how actually helping others feel better about themselves gives you back so many times more. Learn to give without expecting anything in return. And start showing interest in what others actually think and feel. Maybe that will help you see that other people can be trusted and closeness won't seem so scary anymore. Counterbalancing a disorganized style may be more challenging, as that could require different strategies in different occasions. In fact, most likely, different strategies will be required for different people. But this is just to show you what could be helpful at some point. Number 12. Once you've taken the time to work on yourself and acquired the ability to judge objectively your relationships, it's time to take an honest look at your actual relationships. Unless your relationships are downright toxic and abusive, it's better to save this step for later stages, when you are able to view both yourself and the other person in an unbiased manner. Are there any unhealthy patterns that you can now recognize based on the awareness that you have now? Are there any boundaries that need to be reinforced? Do your relationships keep perpetuating the unhealthy pattern? Is it possible to solve this and introduce new ways of relating? Or is it better for you to just let go and move on? If you have been avoiding close relationships, maybe now it's time that you start challenging this approach of yours and take some risks. Remember that building secure and healthy relationships and surrounding yourself with people who support you and have your best interest in mind is what really brings the healing forth. And even if there will always be something to work on, you will be in a safe and supportive environment to do so. Your job is to put yourself in such an environment. So here you have it. I have shared what I have found helpful along my journey, and I truly hope that you will find it helpful as well. Let me know what you think and feel free to share your story if you would like to. Till then, I will see you in my next video, and always remember to stay true to yourself and kind to the other. Bye bye.